This catalogue covers 23 German weapons, from compact pistols and infantry rifles to anti-tank launchers and heavy artillery, and breaks down every item on the list. The Pistol 8, known as the Luger P08, was Germany's established service pistol at the beginning of World War II. It had been inherited from the Imperial German Army and remained in production because large numbers were already available. Its toggle-locked action fired 9mm parabellum ammunition from an 8-round magazine. However, while the Luger was accurate and well-balanced, its complicated construction was expensive and required careful maintenance. The Walther P38 was developed as a more practical replacement for the complicated Luger P08. Its double-action mechanism allowed the pistol to be carried with a loaded chamber and the hammer lowered. It fired 9mm parabellum ammunition from an 8-round detachable magazine. However, while it was safer and easier to manufacture than the Luger, wartime production quality was not always consistent. The Walther PPK was a compact pistol originally developed for plainclothes police officers and concealed carry. Its small dimensions made it suitable for officers, officials, aircrews, and other personnel who did not need a full-sized service pistol. It used a blowback action, a double-action trigger, and was commonly chambered for 7.65mm Browning ammunition. However, while it was compact and convenient, it had less power, range, and magazine capacity than the P38 or Luger. The Mauser C96 was an older pistol design that remained in limited German service during World War II. Its wooden holster could be attached to the grip and used as a shoulder stock, allowing the pistol to function as a short carbine. Most examples used a fixed magazine positioned ahead of the trigger and were loaded with stripper clips. However, while the stock improved stability and effective range, the weapon was long, heavy, and slower to reload than pistols with detachable magazines. Next on the list are submachine guns. The MP38 was developed as a compact automatic weapon for paratroopers, armored crews, and infantry leaders. Its folding metal stock and compact layout made it easier to carry inside vehicles or during airborne operations. It fired 9mm parabellum ammunition from a 32-round magazine using a simple blowback action. However, while the MP38 was controllable and compact, its extensively machined construction made it relatively slow and expensive to manufacture. The MP40 was developed from the MP38 with greater use of stamped and welded components. It became the standard German submachine gun issued mainly to squad leaders, vehicle crews, paratroopers, and specialist troops. Its 32-round magazine and moderate rate of fire made short automatic bursts relatively easy to control. However, while the MP40 was simpler to manufacture than the MP38, its magazine could cause feeding problems, and its folding stock was less stable than a wooden rifle stock. The MP41 was a commercial design created by combining the action of the MP40 with features from the earlier MP28. It used a conventional wooden stock and included a selector that allowed both semi-automatic and fully automatic fire. The weapon retained the MP40's 9mm cartridge and 32-round magazine. However, while the wooden stock and selector improved handling, the MP41 was heavier than the MP40 and was never adopted as a standard German army weapon. Continuing with rifles and automatic rifles. The Karabiner 98K was the shortened version of the Mauser Model 98 rifle and became Germany's standard infantry rifle. It was designed to provide a more compact service weapon while retaining the strength and reliability of the Mauser bolt action. The rifle fired the full-powered 7.92mm cartridge from a 5-round internal magazine loaded with stripper clips. However, while the Karabiner 98K was accurate and dependable, Its manually operated action and limited capacity produced a lower rate of fire than semi-automatic rifles. The WW43, later designated the Karabiner 43, was developed to improve upon the mechanically complicated WW41. It used a simplified gas system and gave German infantrymen a practical semi-automatic rifle. The rifle fired 7.92mm ammunition from a detachable 10-round magazine and could also be fitted with a telescopic sight. However, while it offered greater firepower than the Karabiner 98K, it was more complicated to produce and less consistently durable under harsh battlefield conditions. The WW44, known as the St. G44, was developed to bridge the gap between the submachine gun and the full-powered infantry rifle. It used the shorter 7.92mm Kurz cartridge, which reduced recoil while retaining greater range than a pistol cartridge. Its 30-round magazine and selective fire mechanism allowed both accurate single shots and controllable automatic bursts. However, while it provided substantial close to medium-range firepower, it was heavy and arrived too late to replace Germany's existing rifles on a large scale. The Fallskjermjäger WW42, known as the FG42, was developed to give German paratroopers one weapon capable of replacing several different small arms. It combined the full-powered cartridge of a rifle with selective fire, a 20-round magazine, and a folding bipod. It could function as a semi-automatic rifle, automatic rifle, or light support weapon. However, while the FG42 was extremely versatile, its strong recoil, complicated construction, and high production cost limited the number manufactured. Next on the list are machine guns. The MG34 was developed as Germany's original general-purpose machine gun. It could be fired from a bipod, mounted on a tripod, used against aircraft, or installed in armored vehicles. Its belt-fed 7.92mm action provided a cyclic rate of approximately 900 rounds per minute. However, while the MG34 was precise and highly adaptable, its finely machined components were expensive and could be sensitive to dirt and extreme conditions. The MG42, known as the buzzsaw because of its distinctive firing sound, was developed as a faster and less expensive replacement for the MG34. Its design made extensive use of stamped components and included a rapid barrel changing system. The weapon fired 7.92mm ammunition at a cyclic rate of approximately 1,200 to 1,400 rounds per minute. However, while its rate of fire produced intense suppression, it also consumed ammunition rapidly and caused the barrel to heat quickly. The MG13 was developed by converting the older water-cooled Drace Model 1918 into a lighter air-cooled weapon. It served as an early German light machine gun before being replaced in frontline units by the MG34. The MG13 fired 7.92mm ammunition from a 25-round box magazine or a larger saddle drum. However, while it was more portable than the weapon from which it was developed, its magazine feed and older design provided less sustained fire than Germany's later belt-fed machine guns. Continuing with anti-tank weapons, the Panzerfaust was a family of disposable anti-tank launchers developed to give ordinary infantrymen a simple defense against armored vehicles. It used a recoilless launching tube to fire a large hollow charge warhead. Versions such as the Panzerfaust 30, 60, and 100 offered progressively improved sights and effective ranges. However, while its warhead could defeat substantial armor, the Panzerfaust had a short effective range, dangerous backblast, and normally provided only one shot. The Raketenpanzerbuch 54, known as the Panzerschreck or Tank Terror, was developed as a reusable German anti-tank rocket launcher. Its design was influenced by captured American bazookas, but used a larger 88mm hollow charge rocket. Later versions included a protective shield to defend the operator against the rocket's exhaust and burning propellant. However, while the Panzerschreck offered greater range than the Panzerfaust, it was heavier, more cumbersome, and produced a highly visible backblast. The 7.5-centimeter WW2 40 was developed in response to increasingly well-armored enemy tanks. It became one of Germany's principal towed anti-tank guns during the later years of the war. Its high-velocity, armor-piercing ammunition could penetrate approximately 102 millimeters of armor at 1,000 yards under specified test conditions. However, while the WW2 40 provided substantial anti-armor performance, its weight of more than 3,000 pounds made it difficult for crews to reposition without a towing vehicle. The 5-centimeter WW2 38 was introduced in 1941 to replace the smaller 3.7-centimeter WW2. Its longer barrel and higher muzzle velocity provided improved performance against early and medium war tanks. The gun weighed approximately 2,000 pounds in firing position and could use standard armor-piercing or high-velocity ammunition. However, while it remained more mobile than the WW2 40, its standard ammunition became increasingly inadequate against heavier late-war armor. Next on the list is the flamethrower category. The Flammenwerfer 35 and Flammenwerfer 41 were portable flamethrowers issued primarily to German combat engineers. The Flammenwerfer 41 was developed to replace the heavy Flammenwerfer 35 with a lighter and more manageable system. Both weapons projected pressurized burning fuel against bunkers, trenches, buildings, and other fortified positions. However, while they were effective at very close range, their operators were exposed to enemy fire, carried limited fuel, and could experience ignition problems in extreme cold. Continuing with artillery and heavy guns, the 8.8-centimeter FlaK 18, 36, and 37, known collectively as the 88, were developed as mobile heavy anti-aircraft guns. Their high muzzle velocity also made them effective against tanks, fortified positions, and other ground targets. The weapon could traverse through 360 degrees and maintain a practical rate of approximately 15 to 20 rounds per minute. However, while the 88 was powerful and adaptable, it was large, heavy, and required a towing vehicle and a substantial crew. The 15-centimeter Schweers Infanteriegeschütz 33, known as the SIG-33, was Germany's standard heavy infantry gun. It was designed to provide infantry regiments with direct or high-angle fire against strongpoints and concentrated enemy positions. Its standard high-explosive projectile weighed approximately 84 pounds and delivered considerably more destructive power than lighter infantry guns. However, while the SIG-33 could destroy substantial field defenses, its weight made it difficult to move across rough terrain without mechanical assistance. Finally, we have grenade launchers. The Granatbuch 39 was created by converting the obsolete Panzerbuch 39 anti-tank rifle into a dedicated grenade launcher. The conversion allowed existing weapons to remain useful after their original small-caliber ammunition became ineffective against modern tanks. It used a launcher cup to fire several types of rifle grenade from a long, bipod-equipped weapon. However, while it was more useful than the original anti-tank rifle, it remained bulky, manually operated, and less practical than later weapons such as the Panzerfaust.